What's up, guys? This is Rey-Jay back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's happening with SPY, Tesla, and the overall market. I'm going to break down why the market is seeing a V-shaped move as we're seeing buyers stepping in once again, helping us turn back to green. And also what's happening with the reaction after Nvidia's earnings and other pieces of news affecting the markets. Just know that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I'm saying as financial advice whatsoever. And also, if you guys can, please check out my Moomoo link that's down below, or sign up to my QR code that's right over here. If you sign up for Moomoo with the link down below and deposit $100, you're going to get $20 of free Nvidia stock. If you deposit $2,000, you're going to get $50 worth of the stock. Deposit $10,000 to get $300 worth, and deposit $50,000 to get $1,000 of free Nvidia. You're also going to qualify for an 8.1% APY on uninvested cash, which includes a 4.1% APY base rate plus a 4% extra for 3 months. So that's very, very awesome. If you guys want this deal, please check out my links down below or use my QR code to get those free Nvidia shares. It's a limited time offer. Anyways, now let's talk about what's happening with the market. So crazy, crazy stuff. We saw SPY dip towards 643 after Nvidia's earnings. I was talking about how 642 might be tested. We actually came a little bit short of my targets. And then I also mentioned to you all that when you zoom out, SPY is still bullish, right? Higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows. We're still being made. And I told you that if we dip, we're going to be looking for a bounce again. It might just be a temporary dip. So this was very temporary, meaning that just overnight, that's all it took overnight, and we're back up to new all-time highs on SPY, which goes to show how resilient the market is. So if SPY could hold above 647.5 on a 4-hour close, I think this could try to go higher for 648, and eventually 650 next. The QQQ is also bouncing. We're back above 574. If that holds, we're looking quite solid. The reason the market's bouncing is because Nvidia is also trying to bounce. It started off with a big dump, but I mentioned to you all we never lost critical support on Nvidia at 170. We also never broke critical resistance at 184. We were range bound this entire time. But if anything, we just got bought back up, and now we're trying to push back up towards the 184s. I think Nvidia does look a bit more bullish. But I want to see 180 hold for confirmation, where we almost made a full recovery on Nvidia, which goes to show how resilient it is, once again helping the markets. So why is Nvidia bouncing? Well, honestly, guys, earnings were good for Nvidia, very solid earnings, but the problem is that the Chinese sales remain very uncertain. That's why we got a dip, right? Their overall EPS and revenue is good. We did talk about that. Their net income is good, good projections. However, their overall outlook was a little bit lackluster because they can't include the Chinese sales due to regulations and other pending geopolitical situations that we're waiting for. So we're waiting for a lot of different things. That's why Jensen Huang cannot make promises about the Chinese sales. That is leading to uncertainty, and that's why we saw Nvidia dip. But besides China, if you just exclude China, everything else was solid. And then we did talk about that in my previous videos about how typically Nvidia does very well during earnings. So that's the very, very important piece of news. That's why Nvidia is bouncing. Also, the market's bouncing because our GDP numbers, the GDP growth rate is at 3.3% above expectations. Initial jobless claims was also below expectations. The market's liking this data. Soon we have pending home sales at 10 a.m., which is kind of minor. Then we have the 4 and 8 week bill auctions at 11:30. We're going to see if that causes more volatility. On top of this, Nvidia is turning positive. Once again, buyers have stepped in, and it is very invincible. You could use that claim if you want. On top of this, we got some earnings so far from Dollar General and Best Buy. They both beat EPS and revenue expectations. And there's not really much else coming out. So this is what the earnings calendar looks like. We got Dollar General and Best Buy. And then most of the data is out. Tomorrow we have Alibaba's earnings. Much of this data is out. We do have PCE for tomorrow. Hopefully the numbers are tame. But overall, the market is now going to be relying on technicals. So it's very, very simple. SPY is trying to push here. But here's the thing. Here are the levels to watch for. Okay, I know we're in a very, very tight zone because hypothetically, if we lose this support at 646, we're watching 645. And if 645 fails us, we could be dipping right back down. So make sure you watch 645 just to be safe. Now for bullish, you want to see us hold above 647.5. If that holds on a 4-hour close, I think we go to 648. And then if that breaks, I think we're going for 650 after that. We launch straight up to 650 if this breaks. This is favoring upside. I mean, when you look at the chart, We dip, then we bounce hard. We dip, then we bounce hard. So we're looking bullish, but I need confirmation. I want to see us hold 647.5 and then 648 very, very soon. Break both those levels, and we launch to 650. We do look bullish, but let's wait for confirmation. On the QQQ, we're looking quite solid. We're bouncing thanks to Nvda. See how powerful Nvda is. It causes a lot of volatility a lot of the time. Now, I want to see this basically hold above 574. If we hold above that resistance, we're going to be looking quite good. It's going to be a very, very good sign for us to try to push for essentially 576 to fill this imbalance. Now, if we turn down and lose 571, that could be a bearish sign. But as of right now, the chart's favoring an accumulation, kind of like a cup and handle, and an attempt to push for 576. So basically, if you lose 571, yes, we could, turn back down. But as long as we're above 574, we're favoring 576 as our target. I do favor 576. If we get a nice Nvidia bounce, that's leading the market right back up. So once again, we had a temporary dip only to get bought back up, and there is a lot of potential, at least nonetheless. So we're doing a solid job so far at holding up, and hopefully this continues. I think Nvidia is looking quite solid. When it comes to other factors out there, I just want to mention that for others out there, we also happen to have the IWM Russell 2000. Now, if we lose 233, we're looking for a dump right back down to the lows, but as long as we're above this support at 235, we're favoring 238 as our next resistance and eventually 240. I would argue that the IWM is looking good. I think we're doing a fantastic job at holding up. So the IWM looks very, very solid, and there's a good chance we try to continue what we've started. And overall, there's a lot of buyers who are stepping in, so I think it's looking quite great. I favor that this is going to continue to squeeze for the 240s, but of course, I want to see confirmation. I'd like to see us hold above 238 first, right? Before you go to step 3, you need to get past step 2. We need to get past 238. If so, then I'm going to be looking for 240 as our targets. Overall, we're still looking very, very solid, very, very bullish. For other tickers out there, we also happen to have ES. So we have two supports, 64.76 and 64.58. Got to hold these two. As long as we hold these, we're bullish. If we lose this, yes, we could turn back down. Now we're pushing for 6,500. I want to see us hold this now. That's going to be our next key resistance. If it holds, 65.25 plus is likely coming. But I want to see us hold 6,500. That's going to be a very, very key level. So please keep that in mind, guys. That's going to be very important for us, at least moving forward. And then we're going to have to see what happens at least after that. So that's going to be very, very key. And then we're going to be very, very mindful of what's going on. But for now, we do look more bullish, especially if we hold this level. For a few more, we have NQ. We need to lose 23,500 to be bearish. We dipped only to get a big V-shaped move. Now it's favoring 23,800 if we could break 23,680. If we break that resistance, we're looking for 23,800 as our target. Bitcoin's looking bullish as long as we're above 113,000. We're going to be favoring 115,000. But if we lose 112,000, we're dipping back down. This looks more bullish to me, in my personal opinion. Tesla's holding up well. It's also seeing a nice V-shaped move, but we need to hold 350 on the 4-hour close. If it doesn't hold 350, we could be retesting 346 again. We got to hold 350 on Tesla. If we do, we're looking for an attempt to retest 352.5 then 355, but I need to see 350 hold for at least a 4-hour close. That's going to be very, very key for how we end up moving. So watch that very, very closely. I think that's going to be very, very important, and we have to give this the time it needs. For Nvda, what's good about Nvda is we never lost critical support at 170. We also never broke resistance at 184. We're in the middle, but we're reclaiming 179.7, which is our 20 EMA, which is a good sign. This could be favoring upside as long as we're above 179.7, which is basically around 180. We got to hold that. Then we could be looking for more upside. We need to hold 180 though, just for confirmation. Apple's bullish as long as we don't lose 230 to retest 228. We're going to be favoring an attempt for 232. We're looking pretty good. A few more. We have AMD, which is also bouncing with Nvidia. We need to break 168.5. If we do, we're looking for 170. Coinbase looks pretty good here. We need to break 314. If we do, there's a gap to fill to 318. Amazon's looking more bullish as long as we don't lose 227 to 228. We're favoring the 230s. Meta's consolidating as long as we don't lose, as long as we don't if we don't break 750, I think it's consolidating. This could actually dip back down to like 745. It's not looking that great. I just see consolidation, not really much with it. Google may retest 206, then bounce. But Microsoft is looking more resilient. Consolidation, then eventually 510 is likely coming. The VIX is also dumping, once again favoring upside for the markets. The low 14s could be tested, if not 13. So for now, we look more bullish, but I would like to see us hold above 647.5 on SPY to continue the run. Otherwise, we're just going to be watching our levels. Thank you all so much for listening. Have a good rest of your guys' days, and peace out.